This is the Easy Furniture Large Acacia Wood Cutting Board. Now, if you're looking to upgrade your old cutting board with something a bit newer and nicer, or if you know someone who likes to cook and you want to give them a really nice gift, then this is a great choice. So let me give you a closer look at it, and I'll also give you some tips and tricks on how to keep it looking brand new. Alright, so first I'll show you how this thing comes packaged. This is the box it comes in, and opening it up, looks like this thing is decently packaged. It's just this corrugated paper. On top, there's also a thank you card and some care instructions. Now, taking a closer look at the cutting board, this thing looks pretty nice. This is the smallest one. It measures 17 by 13, but there are some larger sizes. And as I mentioned, this is the Acacia cutting board, but you can also get a teak cutting board. And that type of wood is a little bit more premium than this, but it is also a little more expensive. But anyway, this cutting board has a juice groove that goes around the outside of it. There's also these cutout handles on each side. Then if you flip it over, this side here is completely flat with no juice grooves. All four corners have a large round over on them, and then all of the edges are nice and smooth as well. And over in the corner here, you can see the Easy Furniture logo burned into it. It has a nice smooth surface, nicely sanded, and it's also finished with mineral oil, so of course it is food safe. You can see it has a little bit of a shine to it. I will say the juice grooves aren't perfect. You can see here where the router cut it out, there is a little bit of a hiccup there. But apart from that, it looks like a pretty nice board. Now, without going into too much detail, comparing this end grain board to an edge grain cutting board, this board is going to be much gentler on your knives because of how the wood grain runs. Something that is pretty important with your cutting board is to make sure it's nice and flat, and this one is perfectly flat. That is great. And if you want to keep it flat, make sure you store it on its edge away from moisture. But anyway, now just for some general tips to keep your board looking nice and fresh, I highly recommend going out and buying some wood butter. This is the Macy's Place wood butter, but it really doesn't matter what brand you get. You just want something that has beeswax and mineral oil in it. And basically, it's just this paste here. And basically, you're just going to wipe it all over your board. It helps to use a towel. And this is just going to keep your board nice and healthy, and it'll keep it from drying out. It also gives it a nice shine. You can really see the difference here where I applied the wood butter and where there's just mineral oil from when it was made. Now, it really depends on how often you use this to how often you're going to want to oil it up. But if you're cutting on it multiple times a day, you're going to want to do it once a week. But if you use it less than that, then once a month or even longer is just fine. You really just want to pay attention to what the surface looks like. When it starts to look more dried out or dull, that's when you want to reapply this stuff. And I'd also suggest you put this stuff on when you first get the board. Now, before you put this stuff on, you are going to want to make sure that the board is nice and clean. And you can just wash it how you normally wash it. Just use warm water and soap and scrub it down. You can also use vinegar. Never put it in a dishwasher, but once it's all clean and you let it dry, that's when you can apply this stuff. But yeah, overall, it's not perfect, but it is a pretty nice cutting board. There's no gaps between the wood pieces. It's sanded down nice and smooth. Definitely a step up from those edge grain bamboo boards.